It is not just the rule of cool, although it is I do think it is pretty cool. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, today I am excited to be talking about something I've been waiting to bring to you guys for a long time, and that is an introduction to my next work in progress, Daughters of Necessity. I did one of these videos for Seekers in December of 2024, so almost 2 years ago. And I thought it would be just a fun way to bring everyone in on the journey of drafting Seekers. And as I embark on this new journey to draft Daughters of Necessity, I thought it would be fun to do it at the very beginning of the journey. So that way you guys can follow along with me as I develop everything to do with the plot, the characters, the setting, the magic, everything. The details I give you today might not be in the final version, but they are how I envision the story in this moment as I am embarking on brainstorming and world building and eventually outlining and drafting the book. So, getting started with the most bare bones description of what Daughters of Necessity is. It is a sapphic adventure story set in a kingdom that has been ravaged by a magical plague. And this plague is not typical in that it affects just people. It also affects plant life, animals, and the land itself. And as such, has completely decimated this kingdom. And our story follows a young sorcerer's apprentice and her childhood best friend as they reunite as adults and set out on a journey together to cure this plague once and for all. So my first main character is named Sorrel, and she is a sorcerer's apprentice. She was discovered at a very young age, like 5, 6, or 7. I haven't really pinned that down yet, and taken to this sorceress's tower to learn at her feet and learn magic while also being protected from the plague. As such, Sorrel has lived kind of a sheltered life. She has been sequestered away from the worst effects of the plague and didn't really have to see the kingdom truly crumble in a way that other citizens did. She heard about it, she knew that things were dire, but she didn't really have to see any of the worst effects that it had. She was very, very safe in this tower with her mentor. She never wanted for food or shelter or safety. So while she does have a general understanding of what the situation is, she has no firsthand experience. By contrast, the second main character, Bryn, who was Sorrel's childhood best friend before Sorrel was recruited by this sorceress, has kind of grown up on the rough side of things. She lost her entire family to the plague at a young age and had to resort to thieving to survive. And she got pretty darn good at it. She kind of made it her business, in fact. That's how she's been making her way in life, making money and whatnot, until she was hired to steal something from a sorcerer and was caught. The sorcerer was so impressed by her skills that he let her in on his plan to develop a cure for the plague, which involves stealing quite a bit of expensive and rare reagents and artifacts to power the spell. So Bryn meets back up with Sorrel much later in life as she is on this quest to collect what she needs for the spell for the sorcerer. And through circumstances, Sorrel ends up joining her for the last leg of this quest and for the last part of gathering all of these resources. Another prominent character is, of course, Sorrel's mentor. I haven't fully firmly decided on a name for her, but for right now, her name is Kava. Kava is a very powerful sorceress who has dedicated her life to basically accumulating the strongest kind of magic there is in the world. And I'm going to get into the magic system in a little bit where I'll explain more about that. But Kava has spent most of her life since graduating the Sorcerer's Academy in a tower, digging deep for this very powerful, very pure kind of magic. As the plague started to really decimate the kingdom, she happened to find Sorrel and knew that magic was probably going to be on the decline in this kingdom, what with the plague, and knew that Sorrel needed to be protected, and offered Sorrel's parents to take her in and protect her from the plague while also teaching her magic. Kava is the one who encourages Sorrel to go with Bryn to go on the quest to stop the plague. There is also the sorcerer character who Bryn is working for and who is developing the magic spell to reverse the worst effects of the plague. I don't have a name for him at all yet, but he is kind of a loner. He was kind of young and impetuous and stupid at the time that the plague hit, but the plague has definitely changed him. He has spent the last decade or so researching and developing a way to finally purge the plague, again, not just from the people and everything, but the land itself, so that the kingdom can flourish once more. He's kind of a loner. He lives in a very isolated part of the country. Not the best sorcerer by any means, but the only one doing anything about anything. And then we have the antagonist, who doesn't yet have a name, but he is a merchant prince. In the rise of the plague, the former ruling class kind of fell, and up in their place rose merchants who still had access to the necessities, food, untainted water, cattle, things like that, things that they could trade to normal people who were desperate. There are 4 major merchant families, all with a head of family known as a merchant prince. And one of these merchant princes is on the hunt for Bryn because she stole something very valuable from him for the cure. And so he is very prideful and very protective of his position at the top of this hierarchy. And he may not necessarily want to see the plague cured just yet because, again, he is enjoying his place at the top of the food chain as things currently stand. So those are the 5 principal characters that we'll explore throughout the book. Now you might be wondering how this plague was able to so effectively decimate this kingdom and why people are even still living in a land that is irreparably tainted by this plague. And that is because of the geography of the kingdom itself. The kingdom's name is D-I-S, and it is on the southern tip of the continent, and the top border is completely mountainous with only a few passes out through the mountains and into the northern part of the continent. And there's not really a lot of serviceable coastline, just a little harbor down on the southern tip, but most of it is cliffs and very rocky, and again, not really a great place for people to travel in and out of. So the geography was working against the people there, and people were also working against them, because once news of the plague really started to spread beyond their borders, the passes through the mountains were sealed from the other side to prevent people from coming through to supposedly stop the spread of the plague. And same on the other borders on the eastern side of the kingdom. They're basically closed in. They received absolutely no mercy from anyone else, just because of fears of the plague that we know of. This kingdom is also really well known in the wider world as being a hotspot for magic. And it is thought that this kingdom is the nexus for all magic power throughout the world, which is why at one time there were many sorcerers coming from this land. In fact, the Sorcerer's Academy is on an island off the coast of this kingdom. However, the plague has affected the sorcerers as well because of the way magic is related to the land and to the earth itself. The plague has seeped into that wellspring of power and tainted it as well, which means there are fewer and fewer sorcerers being born, and the magic that currently exists is not operating as it normally would. Speaking of the magic, let's get into a little bit about the magic system. I'm really excited about this magic system. I had a completely different idea back when I first selected this project as my next work in progress that was kind of like glyph based, but I have since decided to throw that out and go with something completely new. And the keyword that I am using for this magic system is ley lines, but they're not ley lines in maybe the way that you might be thinking when you hear that word. Basically, the way that it works is that magic is pooled deep inside the earth, and it springs up through the land. And to access that power, a sorcerer needs to invest part of themselves into the earth itself through ley lines. They basically stretch themselves, their metaphysical selves, down into the earth and create these veins, basically these lines, these connections between themselves and the power in the land. There are generally two ways to go about building these ley lines. You could either build wide, which means you have a wider network, a broader scope of physical area that you've built your ley lines in, or you can build deep. And the difference is that if you build wide, you can cast spells more effectively over that entire area, but the power is diminished because your ley lines are shallower by nature. Whereas if you focus on building your ley lines deep, you are granted access to stronger and stronger and stronger magic. And that is the kind of magic that Sorrel's mentor is seeking. She's looking to go as deep as any sorcerer has ever gone with her ley lines and find the purest pool of power as deep in the earth as she can, which is why she secludes herself in a tower. Because her ley lines aren't spread wide, she basically loses her ability to be effective beyond just the confines of her tower. But within that tower, she is terrifying, let's say. Another really interesting thing about the magic system that I am including is that when a child manifests their magical talent, they develop red hair. And so you can easily identify someone who has magic by the color of their hair. Now, listen, I do happen to know that there is another book out there in the universe with basically the exact same idea about the red hair being magical. I heard about it by accident through a rant review on Reads with Rachel. I can't even remember the name of the book. And I remember being devastated because that is the second time I thought I had a really cool, unique idea, only to find out that it was already done. But I am going to stick with it. Again, I didn't get the idea from that book. I haven't even read it. I just heard about it through Reads with Rachel. But I do know that idea for the red hair existed in my brain before I ever saw that video. So I'm just going to stick with it because I actually have scenes in mind that are very, very specific to that plot point. It is not just the rule of cool, although I do think it is pretty cool. I do have plot stuff related to that I want to continue to explore. So don't tell me, I already know. So that's about it. I do have some plot things that I haven't talked about, but I'm still so early in the process that I don't really want to get into any of these specific plot moments that I already have in mind, just because I do want there to be some mystery left. But suffice it to say, there is a haunted forest that the girls explore. There is a very dangerous stretch of land that they have to cross that is a very tense moment. There is, the sense of the hunt being on because of the merchant prince chasing Bren. There is a sense of otherism with Sorrel, with her red hair, with being a sorcerer, with having her power coveted, but because she has not had the chance to build her ley lines, she doesn't really have a lot of power despite the status symbol of her hair. There is a crotchety old magician who might be keeping some secrets. There's just so much stuff that I can't wait to explore, and I can't wait for you guys to come along on this journey with me. And I think that is just about everything that I have at this time that I am willing to share, because there is so much more that I will be exploring throughout the next couple of months for sure. My plan for Writing Daughters is to get all the world building done in the next couple of weeks, and then by the beginning of July start outlining. I would really, 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 really love to be starting the draft by September 22nd, which is the start of Finish Your Book Fall, which I hadn't really intended on bringing back just because I wasn't sure if I would be ready to start, but I think I might push myself. Something I learned about myself in July during that last final push to finish draft 3 of Seekers is that I really can do it if I put my mind to it. So now that I'm finally sitting down and really bending my mind towards Daughters, I think I want to try and get all of the preamble done, all of the preparation work done by September 22nd, so then I can draft the entire book during fall and do Finish Your Book Fall. So I'll see how things go over the next couple of weeks. And if that is something I end up doing, you will of course be the first to hear about it. But apart from that, that is just about everything. I hope you enjoy my journey with Daughters of Necessity as much as you did Seekers of Empyrean, which is of course not even done yet. It is just in the hands of beta readers right now. So this is just what I'm working on while I wait for feedback. But I hope you enjoy it either way. And Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me some kind of red emoji, like for the red hair. In my next video, I will be bringing you the first vlog of working on this project. It's a little bit shorter because I did take a couple of days off between handing in seekers and starting the brainstorming process, but it's been just a really cozy, fun experience finally putting drafting aside and getting back into some of the fun stuff, which is like brainstorming, where the potential I feel is really, really limitless. And this is where I can really stretch my wings and stretch my imagination the most. So I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.